Today, we're talking about two of the things that I feel like have been super influential in my life as far as, if we want to say, quotes go. And I'm excited to tell a couple of stories. Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. This episode is brought to you by Jane, a clinic management software that I absolutely love that is here to make practice life a little easier. For many of us practitioners, yes, if you did not know, I also owned a clinic and I totally understand. As a clinic owner, documentation can feel a bit clunky and disrupt the flow of an appointment. And that's where Jane's templates can help. With dozens of customization options, you can tailor your templates to your workflow so you can focus your energy on what matters, which is helping your patients' clients. Access the template library built by practitioners across different disciplines. This is so amazing. You guys, if you have not checked this out, please do. Then you can edit those templates to fit your unique needs without starting from scratch, and it saves you so much time. You can also create your own templates for every step of patient care, including intake form questionnaires, clinical surveys, treatment plans. This way, you have everything you need to start appointments prepared. To learn more about how Jane can help your documentation work for you, head to meet.jane.app/documentation to book a demo. Oh, and also, if you want to get started with Jane, you can use my code LEX1MO. Again, that's LEX1MO for a 1-month grace period on your new account. To make it easy for you, I have a link that goes directly to Jane in the show notes. Feel free to click that and you will be taken to the place where you can learn more and book a demo. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Up in My Business. I am Lex, your host, the owner of Lex Lancaster Creative Co., and I'm so excited to chat with you today. We're going to just do a quick little download on life and business stuff. Life is just flowy is the way that I would describe it. It's flowy. If you're familiar with my story as far as the last 6 months, I've been diving pretty heavy into like mental health coaching, if you will. I'm actually going to tell my coach that because we were going to like set new goals this coming Monday, and I love her so much for being so amazing. And I am definitely going to book check-ins. But what I'm going to do this Monday is just tell her like I would love for today to be like a wrap up, a reframe, sharing resources, what have you, because I need a break from doing all of this work on myself. Like the work never ends. However, I just need a break from the targeted sessions that are weekly. I'm at a point right now where I feel like I need to just implement and not get coaching around it. I feel like I am at the place where I can really, I have the skills that I need. And when I feel like I'm hitting a wall, I will likely reach out again. And I feel like that is a place where we all have likely been one way or another, or if you're a clinic owner, clinic practitioner, what have you, you likely have had this happen with your patients. And you're like, you are at a place where it would just make sense to either take a break, go forth, do the thing, and then come back, what have you. So that's where I'm at. Volleyball has been really great as far as like playing wise. Shantae and I are really clicking as far as playing together. And it's a lot of fun. We're at the point where like we can just implement and refine things and like watch film and see what doesn't work, what did work. It is really, really fun. And it's really great to be able to share that with her. We are going on a last minute trip. I shouldn't say last minute. It was last minute as of last month, but we're going on a trip this Wednesday. And then we also find out about a potential trip on Monday. So the day that this releases, our friend is going to be telling us whether or not she made it into a tournament. And if she makes it into that tournament, we're planning on going. And it's kind of like one of those once in a lifetime trips type of scenarios. So really looking forward to that. It's one of those things where it will likely be, like I said, a once in a lifetime trip. And if we decide to go back, amazing. But if we don't go, we'll go probably next year, the year after. But I'm really excited for that. So that will be in the works. I have rearranged, like I guess jumping into business stuff, I've rearranged my business schedule to accommodate that vacation or not. And also just to take more time off in the summer, I think, and I guess I can talk more about this in some episode, but I don't know. I feel like there is this, I feel like we all have this internal pressure of like, I can't help everybody. And I know that I have hours to give. So how can't I just make it happen and help everybody? And like, sure, that's fine. You could do that. Or you could also devote that time and energy to yourself. And I'm at that point right now, especially in the summer, where I'm just like, I want to have flexibility in my schedule. I could take on more clients, but then what happens is that if something comes up, or if I have to take a day off and I don't expect it, I have nowhere for my current clients to go. So I'm like, I don't want to do that. And what I mean by that is the clients now have to go onto my personal days. And I'm like, I just don't want it. So, even though I have some capacity to have new clients, it's just really difficult to commit to that, because it then limits my ability to change things last minute, limits my ability to move things around should I want to. And that's like why I have my own business. And that's why I work for myself, because I want to be able to have the time flexibility to do the things that I want to do in my life, in addition to working with the people that I enjoy working with so much. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of where my head's at. Also launched and filled SEO Inner Circle, and I'm really excited for that. So the SEO Inner Circle is a place where SEO School students who have taken SEO School are able to join this membership community. And it's going to be an ongoing Q&A, strategy implementation. I'm basically creating like a core curriculum inside of it. And I'm pumped. I think it's going to be really good. And it's going to be my way of providing support for SEO School students, I think, starting this fall. So if you don't, you can join the course at whatever price, and then you can also add on the Inner Circle. But the thing is, this Inner Circle is going to be very limited. I don't want it to be 100 people. It's not going to be feasible at this point in time. So I'm trying to keep that small. But lots of things down the pipeline as far as like, what is this going to look like? What have you? So yeah, just like a couple quick things as far as that goes. SEO School is well underway. I am working through the curriculum and the new workbook for SEO School as well. So that should be, hopefully, if that does not come out, it'll definitely come out in the fall. However, I am working on that over the summer. And if we don't go on that trip in July, that's likely going to be one of my I'll call it like a workcation. I'll be working a lot on SEO School those 2 weeks, just because it makes sense to do so, seeing how I already have the time, and it's devoted to like a vacation. So yes, anybody listening to this who is very adamant that like you deserve a vacation, don't worry, I will also take time off, but we'll also be using some of the time to be creative and work through that course. All right. I think that's really the big business updates. Going to wet my whistle really quick. Really so thirsty. All right. With that being said, someone asked, I had mentioned a couple weeks ago, I put a story up on my Instagram, obviously. And it was just like, ask me what would you ask me right now if we were out to coffee together? And one person had asked me, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given? And like, to be honest with you, there are a few that I will just like, I have a lot, I will say, like a lot of things I can think back on and be like, yeah, that was very important and that was very helpful. But there are two things that I wanted to share with you, not because they're like better than the other things that I've done. And I'll share one that's kind of funny at the end, but more or less because I think they will be the most relatable to any situation that you may be in now or have been in or might be in, yada, yada. So I will tell you a couple stories. So the first piece of advice, and if you're a basketball player or have played basketball, you will likely relate to this one pretty quickly. When I was, and this is how I know it was such a turning point, if you will, because I can remember it so clearly. When I was in 8th grade, there was this gentleman. He was actually a police officer, and I'm from a very small town. So this police officer was also the morning crossing guard. He was also friends with my family in like a distant fashion. And he came to one of my basketball games, and after our game was done, this was like modified basketball, right? Because it's 8th grade. No, it was before that. No. It was 7th grade, because 8th grade I got pulled up to varsity. So 7th grade, he pulled me aside after the game and was like, I'm going to tell you something. And he was like, I think he might've said like, I don't know if you're going to listen to me or if you want to listen to me, yada, yada. And he was like, if you always want to play, or if you want to guarantee that you're always going to be on the court, you need to know how to handle the basketball. And it sounds so like, okay, right? And so I listened, I heard him, I listened and I heard him. And that was the end of that basketball season. And the way that basketball worked for me, it was like I played in the school, and then I also played travel. So I don't think that was actually the school league. And then we had travel after that. So this was like, late February. After travel basketball, because I lived in upstate New York, so it's winter, my parents had a driveway that was probably, oh boy, it was so long, you guys. It was so long. I would say it was probably, if you were to lay, probably 200 meters. 200 meters, is that, 200 meters? I would say 2 track lengths would make sense. Would that make sense? I would say between 100 and 200 meters. It was, I know you're thinking like that, Lex, that's really freaking long. Yes, it is really long. It went from the top of the road all the way out to the middle of my yard. And my parents had like, I don't know, 15 acres of land. Guys, I'm from like a very, very small farm town. So just understand that like land is a dime a dozen out there. So that long driveway, and I spent the entire summer dribbling a basketball, two basketballs up and down the driveway. And also shooting on a double rim. And if you know basketball, you know what that means. That means that none of your shots go in unless you are perfect. And so I spent the entire summer dribbling up and down the driveway with multiple basketballs at the same time, all the between the legs, the behind the back, all at the same time with 2 balls. It was insane. I would go up and down that driveway day in, day out, like I had nothing else to do, because realistically I didn't, but I spent the entire summer getting really good at ball handling and shooting and everything with that double rim. My dad got a basketball hoop from a community center. They were like getting rid of them. And my dad was like, I'll take it. So then he put that hoop in at our house. And it was a double rim, which is just so hard to shoot on, you guys. And so it's very different than the basketball hoops that are in a gym. So basically I spent the entire summer trying to be really freaking good at basketball. And the reason why I say that this was a really, really important lesson that I learned in my life is because I learned through this experience that the amount of work I put in will give me, an equal or more greater reward. And it taught me the value of putting work in and work ethic and putting time in, and understanding that the only person who's going to be able to do this is me. Like literally the only person that can give me this skill is myself. And it was one of those lessons where, at the time I'm a young kid. I didn't learn that there. Like I didn't integrate that and feel like that in the moment. I just, did the thing that I was told to do because I wanted to play basketball. But I know for sure that experience was the first time that I was shown that if I put the work in and I show up to save myself, the result at the end of that is going to be good. It's going to be what I expect because I prepared myself and I did the work to get the result that I wanted. And that has been the case for any of the things that I can say in my life. Like I think about my biology program was a pre-med program, and my bio professors, guys, like they were harsh. They held us to a standard that is just, it was crazy. They held us to such a high standard. I'm telling you, I went to PT school. PT school was exponentially easier than my bio curriculum, like full stop. It was like no questions asked. It has nothing to do with me getting more mature or me caring about different things, me learning things I cared about. No, my bio program was exponentially harder than PT school. And that if I did not have the work ethic and the I'm going to say the discipline to do the work that I learned throughout that first experience then I would not have succeeded like I did. Like I just know it. I know that if I put the work in, I'm showing up for myself. I'm the only person who's going to get this result for me. I need to do this thing. And that's how I'm going to get the result. There's no other like shortcut. There's no like time hack. Like I just need to show up and do the work, and I have to do the work, not someone else. Like it's me who has to do the thing. And to finish the basketball story, like I went on and I was never not a starter. I was pulled up to varsity all of the years that I played that I wasn't actually on varsity. So, I mean, any sectional, which was kind of a weird concept because they didn't want to have me on varsity because the parents of the varsity athletes were kind of weird about it because they were like, who is this young kid that's playing over my kid? It just gets really weird in high school, especially when it's like a small school like mine, where it's like all the parents know all the parents and you know their sisters and their brothers and you know their grandparents. Like I graduated with 48 kids, guys. So just know that it's not a big school. But anyway, like it just showed me that I could get the result that I wanted by putting in the work. And I've used that lesson over and over and over again, especially as I look at even now in my life. It's like volleyball. The only person who's going to make me better is me. And the only person that's limiting me is me, aside from my body, right? So I can't like outwork my body and the limitations of my body. However, if I'm thinking about, I want to get better at this skill, the only person who's going to be able to make me better at that skill is me putting the work in to get better at that skill. It's not just going to magically happen. And sometimes I feel like we just wait for things to like fall in our lap and we're just going to be good at it. And I think that's a really, I don't know. I think it's, I don't want to use the word entitled because that's not the word that I want. It's more or less like, it's just like an expectation that will consistently fail us and put us in a position to fail and not feel good about ourselves. And instead it's just like, let's flip the script and say, I have the power to make myself succeed or be good in this thing. So let's do it. Like, let's make that happen. So yeah, that's the first one. The other one is really, it's really personal and it's, you're going to smile, I hope. So the long and the short there is the last piece of advice that I'm going to tell you at the end of this quickly will make sense after I tell this story. But one of the other pieces of advice that I've carried through, since grad school has been, if you never ask, the answer is always no. And the person who told me that conveniently was Shantae. So I had brought her in to teach a rock tape course. This was like, I knew her from Instagram. I called rock tape, literally. I called rock tape and I was like, hey, I want to bring a course to our school, but only if Shantae teaches. I actually said only if the Movement Maestro teaches. And it all happened. And during the course, I want to say that if you never ask, the answer is always no. I want to say she either had that in her slides or like we were talking at the end of the course. I can't remember. Either way, she had mentioned that piece of advice. And since then, I had always been the person who's like, I'm going to create an opportunity for myself. And I can talk to that quickly as well. But with this, it's just like, I will always reach out to someone and wait for the no before assuming that it's going to be a no. Like, I don't know. I want to know that it's for sure a no. So all of the questions that I ask, like there are things that I've reached out to people and I'm just like, hey, can I do this? Can we do this thing together? And most times it's a yes. I will say there's been some no's, but like at the end of the day, I'm very happy with just saying like, if I never actually ask, the answer is always no. And when I think about that, I just know that I can go for things. And again, going back to what I learned before, it's just like, I am the person who's responsible for this. I want this outcome. This outcome will be really great. I'm going to put the ball in my court and ask the question. And one example I will give you is when I was it was my final year of PT school. So actually it was my second year. It was my second year of PT school. And it was the way that PT school worked for us was the third year we were off campus in full. So second year of PT school, I finished school, went to, I actually moved to New Hampshire because both of my clinicals were there. So I went to New Hampshire and I had both my clinicals planned. I was in the middle of my first clinical. So that was in the fall. And I want to say our spring semester wrapped up in like the early summer. So it wasn't too big of a gap, but I had a job application come across my email for Utica. And this was for a full-time faculty position. And it was for a lab coordinator. So it was for the bio program with all of the professors that like I deeply, deeply respect. Like I respect them so much. So it was with them as like my colleagues, and the person who was conducting the entire experience was a professor. And she was actually my like pseudo advisor. She was the only person I told that I didn't want to go to med school when I didn't want to go to med school. I was like, hey, I don't think I want to do this. And she was like, it's okay. Let's work toward what you want to do. So I will thank her. I will forever be indebted to the fact that she just took the time to listen to me and help me. But when I was on clinical, I had that job, the job came across my email because they always send up like, here's a job opening. And I was like, you know what? I want to be in academia. And like, I will tell you right now, I am an adjunct professor at Utica for the bio program. So it worked out in a different way. However, and I've been doing that since 2020, but in 2018, I applied for this full-time faculty position. I was like, you know what? Like if I'm in academia, and I was like, worst case scenario, this job is in Utica. I can be there for a couple of years. I will get a couple of years underneath my belt for teaching. If I really don't like living there, I can move. Like I had a whole thing in my head. I was like, this is great. Like, let's try it. Let's see what I can do. And so mind you, I'm in grad school. I'm still a PT student. And I was like, I returned to that advice. It's just like, if you never ask, the answer is always no. And I had put in a lot of work for, I was a graduate assistant ×2 for the bio program. I was a great student. Like they were very familiar with me. And I was like, you know what? I reached out to, one of my advisors. I couldn't reach out to the one that I talked about before because she was heading the process. So it would have been like a conflict of interest. But I submitted my application and I made it to the final stage of interviews. I actually went to campus. I had to teach a lecture. It was amazing. I was, like I said, final stage of interviews, and the person who ended up getting the job was like someone who was already internal. So I was like, amazing. Like I made it to the final stage of interviews. There were two of us. It was between two of us, her and I. And she ended up getting the job, and she was already internal to the school. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, I'm so proud of myself for putting myself out there, one, but then two, for trying. And like, yes, the answer was no, but also now I know for sure it's a no. I don't have to guess. I don't have to be like, oh, what if? It was a no. And then also it led to other opportunities. So that is pretty freaking cool. So for me, it's just like, yes, you're going to be the one to show up for yourself. And also, if you want something, you should ask. Like the answer will always be no, right? If you don't actually ask for the thing. And I have Shantae to thank for that. Another thing that I will say kind of goes along with number one, really. It really goes along with like asking the question. But I just didn't have the words around that yet because this occurred before. But the two things I will also say, it's just like you need to create the opportunities for yourself sometimes. And I think like I speak from a place of privilege, obviously, like I am a white woman and I was in a predominantly, like I grew up in a predominantly white area. I am middle class. Like I understand that. So I understand like me asking for opportunities is likely different from someone else who doesn't look like me. And I am aware of that. I think when I was in grad school, I didn't think I'd be able to afford to stay at Utica. Utica was very expensive. And I knew that one of the easiest ways for me I worked throughout grad school. I worked 20 hours a week, during grad school, and I worked a lot during undergrad as well, because I just needed to be able to pay for things. So when I was in undergrad, I was like, I heard about these graduate assistant positions. I know there's not one that currently exists for the bio program, and I think they need one. And so I put together an entire pitch to the bio program, and I was like, hey, look, you guys as professors set up all of your labs by yourself. Like I would love to set up your labs for you. That way, all you have to do is show up and teach. And this could be the graduate assistant program. And so that's exactly what I did. I would set up all of the labs for undergrad labs for the bio program, and all the professors had to do was show up and teach the actual lab. They didn't have to set the lab up. And so that was my graduate assistant position, but that position didn't exist until I was like, hey, I see a gap. I would love to fill this for you. Can we create a grad assistant position for me? And that position was huge for me. Like I went through an undergrad time where like, I wasn't sure if I could return back to school because some funding didn't happen. And so I was always kind of like, my money story was like, if I can't make it, I need to have something to fall back on. And so for the graduate assistant position, I knew that I could take less out in loans because you also got a tuition discount if you were a grad assistant. And I was like, I'm just going to create this program, this grad assistant position, because it will help me and I'll also be able to help the professors. And it's something I like to do. So the long and the short there was, yes, if you never ask, the answer is always no. But two, like you're the person who's going to show up for yourself, and you're the person who's going to make the things happen if that's something that you are wanting, right? Like you have to show up for yourself and do the work. The last one that I think is funny, and I'm not going to really tell stories around it because I don't really need to do that, but the last one that I will say that I ended up embracing after realizing that I have a lot of, I have my own like internal, like I'm not the person who's going to be manifesting things and whatever, but it's just not how I operate. I'm very concrete. I have learned this about myself. It's very difficult for me to do things like that. But what I will tell you is that I realized pretty quickly that I have, an intuition like everybody else. And I know something that would help. And I know where there are gaps. I know where things can be different. And something that I really adopted after learning that was, instead of asking for permission, ask for forgiveness. And that kind of came about after just realizing like I would do things and it would be helpful. And, I know that can also be taken as like a really negative thing of being like, oh, so you're just going to do what you want and then hopefully people will forgive you. I assure you, it's not like ridiculous stuff, but this was more or less just like, especially bringing rock tape in. Like I brought rock tape in to teach, and I was told like, you should master your curriculum first, the PT curriculum first, before you bring them in. And I was like, listen, like I'm very confident in the PT curriculum. Like I would just love to learn more. It would make me, feel really good. I would be happy, to bring it to the students and like what have you. And I was just like, I think it would be really cool to do that. And like, who doesn't want to learn more? Right. And like people were really supportive of it and was really happy. I was really happy about it. So yeah, I just, sometimes it's just like, you want to just do the thing, and then because it feels good, it feels right. And obviously if it's wrong, like it's wrong. Don't be dumb. But, it's just like, yeah, I'm going to be respectful and make sure that like it makes sense. But sometimes it's just like, I want to follow the intuition and what I see instead of, asking for all of these permissions first. And yeah, I feel like it just, yes, like it works. I won't say that I do that very often now because I'm not really in a position where I need to. But it's one of the, like, I can give an example if we really want to go there. Like, I had a patient come in who needed a wrist splint, and they were scheduled as an eval on my schedule, at a place where I used to work. And I was like, I don't do wrist splints. I'm going to call this patient and refer them out. And like, I didn't tell my boss that because my boss was likely going to be like, hey, get the eval money, even though the script says they need a splint. Like, just forget about that. Do the eval, and then you can refer them out for the splint. And like, in my mind, I was like, no, she is having surgery. Like, she needs a splint. She needs someone who is a hand therapist. She does not need me. And so like, I took it upon myself to just be like, I am going to do the right thing here and call this patient and tell them like, hey, you should go here instead. And like, it all worked out. So that's what I mean by ask for forgiveness, not permission sometimes. Which I think you can understand. I'm not like a bad person over here. I'm not over here like, forget everybody else. I'm just going to do what I want. That absolutely not. But I do think that it can help as long as you have the best interest of people around you and you're respectful and you are aware, like have self-awareness and, also awareness of the feelings of people around you too. And like what's right and what's wrong, a moral compass, if you will. I think, it makes sense. Okay. That was a long one. I hope you enjoyed my stories. Really random. I have been toying, like I feel like everybody that I talk to, it's just like, you want to know more about them and you want to know their story. And sometimes you think about these random moments where you're like, that made such a difference in my life. And like, I have never actually said it, or like publicly said it. And like, most people don't know that about me, and it might make things make sense. And I don't know. I just kind of felt like that would be, after getting that question asked, I was like, that would be a good episode to dive into. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that all, lands for you. I hope if you take anything away from this, let me know if anything really landed. I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I appreciate you listening. I know you could literally be listening to anything else and you're listening to this. So thank you. And that's all I've got for you. So I hope you have a great rest of your week. I will catch you next time.